And it's giving you ideas for topics. And again, these are ideas. You don't have to go with the topics, but it's something to think about for like, oh yeah, I guess I do have customer stories, or I don't have any success stories. Maybe I should start creating some of those.
Initiating becoming a hiring machine sequence in 3, 2, 1.
Hey everyone, it's Sam Keenley, and welcome back to Becoming a Hiring Machine. This is the show dedicated to fixing recruitment by going beyond saying what needs to change and instead teaches you how to make the change. Today, we have another great Tactical Tuesday ahead of us, but before we get into that, I want to tell you a little bit about the show. Essentially, we have shows within the show. Sometimes we have interviews with industry thought leaders and others who are shaking up the space, and they're going to teach you how to do something that they do that's helped them be successful. Sometimes we're going to cover trending topics, items that recruiters are talking about or will be very soon, and what those mean for them. Every Tuesday, like today, we drop a Tactical Tuesday episode where we go deep on how to do something that you can start using in your day-to-day immediately to drive better results. Every now and then, we'll open it up for Q&A, where listeners can come in and ask questions that they'd like to hear us take on. Send those over to us at podcast@loxo.co. And occasionally, you'll hear a mic drop episode from Matt where he shares something that he's been thinking about within the recruitment space and things that you need to know about. For today's Tactical Tuesday, Vivien is joining me yet again as our resident expert living at the intersection of all things recruitment and ChatGPT. And today we're going to get a little bit creative with ChatGPT. Many recruiters and organizations are currently struggling with business development. Just about every day, I either see in a community or we have team members being asked some form of the question, are things this slow for everyone right now? This is going to lead to a few of the same business development strategies and tactics being recommended, think MPC, things like that. And where the magic of ChatGPT is going to come in is we're going to use it to help us come up with ideas for what we could do that aren't the same things that everyone else is doing, and then prompt it to go deeper in those areas that we're interested in so you can start to tailor it to your business. So on that note, I'm going to pass it over to Vivien to start leading us through this.
All right. Thanks, Sam. Today, we're going to use ChatGPT 4. It's the premium version because it's a little bit smarter and we need a little bit more artificial intelligence to get this where we need it to be. So as always, we're going to start by introducing ourselves. Hi, ChatGPT. I work at a recruiting agency and I'm responsible for our business development efforts. I like to create a step-by-step business development process that has steps or stages we can add to our CRM, in this case, Loxo, and track our progress in BD efforts. I like your help with creating that process. What do you need to know from me to help create this strategy? Whenever you go into ChatGPT and just say, hey, help me create a business development process, this is where it will spit out this very generic business development process. But by asking, what do you need to know about us, my agency, my job, to help me create a process and strategy, this is where it can really tailor it to your specific needs, your market, and things like that. So the cool thing about ChatGPT is that it learned information all over the web and it's bringing it all together for you so that you don't have to do all of the research and things like this. So to start with, ChatGPT wants to learn a little bit more about our target market, our current BD strategy, our team structure and size, tools and resources, goals and KPIs, budget, timeline, CRM customization level, things like that, so that it can get a better idea of what is it even working with. And this is something that when you are working with a consultant that is supposed to help you with business development efforts and things like that, most likely they're going to ask you similar questions, if not the same questions, to kind of have a baseline to start with. Because ChatGPT is really cool, it already gives us a general outline of what to suggest. Step 1, research, target identification. Step 2, initial outreach. Step 3, follow-up and engagement. And a couple of more other steps that we're going to dive deeper in another episode. So to start with, I actually asked ChatGPT in a separate conversation if it can be the CEO of a brand new recruiting agency and come up with the answers to the questions that ChatGPT asked originally. So in this case, we're actually going to be focusing on healthcare, tech, and logistics. Specifically, ChatGPT said nurses, software engineers, and supply chain managers as an example. And it essentially just kind of gave a good baseline idea of what ChatGPT needs to be working with for this specific business development strategy. And once we responded to ChatGPT, answering all of its initial questions to get to know us a little bit more, we're now looking at what it's suggesting for research and market analysis. So it's starting with identifying potential clients within healthcare, technology, and logistics industries, and to use LinkedIn Sales Navigator to search for specific roles, such as nurse, software engineers, and supply chain managers at our targeted companies. So we're actually going to go ahead and scroll down to dive a little bit deeper into step 1, because we don't just want those 2 bullet points. We want to dive a little bit deeper. This is where you kind of start separating the conversation and address each bullet point with ChatGPT separately. So we're starting out by saying thank you. For step 1, can you suggest specific methods, search strings, etc., to identify potential clients? What roles should we really be focusing on to start with? And what are the titles of the hiring managers? Because if we have specific roles, we first need to go to the hiring managers to figure out how can we get there. So for business development purposes, it then gives us Boolean search strings we can copy and paste into LinkedIn Sales Navigator. It then also recommends to look up industry association directories, networking events and trade shows that are local business directories, and Google searches to figure out healthcare companies in, let's say, Charlotte, North Carolina, or technology startups in Denver, Colorado, logistics firms in, let's say, San Francisco. And then it specifically goes into look for registered nurses, nurse practitioners, and medical technologists for healthcare. And then further down, it specifies some hiring managers such as director of nursing, human resource manager in healthcare, and medical staffing manager for the hiring managers. So this gives us a really good foundation for just the market and what we're kind of looking for. Then we're going to go back up and look at the initial outreach. This is where ChatGPT recommends that we create an outreach campaign, which might include LinkedIn messages, cold emails, phone calls, and it suggests to use a templated but personalized approach to introduce our agency's services, and to attend local networking events virtually or in person, and to track all of this in Loxo. Now, obviously, this is a great idea. Everybody knows the theory. This is what we're supposed to do. So this is where we're going to tell ChatGPT we need to dive a little bit more deeper into this. So in this case, I said for step 2, I think it makes sense to have an outreach campaign with 9 touch points over the course of 3 months. Obviously, this is something that you can tailor and change depending on your own personal preferences. Please suggest an outreach campaign for each sector that we're targeting. In this case, healthcare, technology, logistics, for the specific roles you mentioned. The goal of the campaign is to get the potential customer to want to set up a meeting with us. I think it would be really beneficial to add into the outreach campaign how we can help solve some of their common issues that they are currently facing to make their lives easier, because that's essentially our job, right? This doesn't have to be a fully written out campaign to start with. I would just like to see the steps, the outreach methods. In this case, we're going to be deploying these campaigns via Loxo Outreach. So in this case, we are able to do emails, texts, phone calls, and LinkedIn emails, and what the topic or theme should be of each message, as well as all the time intervals. So it spits out a beautiful 12-week outline of a campaign for the healthcare sector, as well as tech and logistics. So to dive a little bit deeper here, for week 1, it is suggesting that we reach out via email, introducing ourselves, our services, highlights of the struggle of finding qualified and reliable healthcare staff, and how our agency can actually help address this. Touch point 2 is going to be sending a LinkedIn message saying, hey, here's a recent success story of ours. Obviously, this is where your own expertise kind of comes in. Touch point number 3 in week 3 will be a phone call. Just kind of, hey, wanted to introduce myself. Now you have a voice, and here's some of the tailored solutions that we can provide you. What are some of your pain points? Do you have any now? Do you think you're going to have some in 3 months? We can always reach back out in 3 months. We're here to help you, assist you whichever way we could. Touch point 4, again, another email, in this case, sharing a case study of how our agency helped a healthcare institution improve their staffing efficiency. So those are all of the touch points and pain points that specifically healthcare has, that it's suggesting how to address them. And so it's giving you this general topic. And then in a follow-up message with ChatGPT, you can then specifically dive into it and say, hey, for healthcare, let's talk about week 1. What do you think we should specifically say? And you can then have a little bit of a back and forth to figure out what that message would be. You can do this for every single week, and you can do this for healthcare. You can do this for technology, and you can do this for logistics.
I love this. And it's so, as I said, this helps you come up with different ideas where it's not assuming everyone has a job right now they need a place, but it's how are you developing that relationship? What's the method that you're using to reach out to them? And it's giving you ideas for topics. And again, these are ideas. You don't have to go with the topics, but it's something to think about for like, oh yeah, I guess I do have customer stories, or I don't have any success stories. Maybe I should start creating some of those. And just all the different ways that you can add value. Because at the end of the day, that's what you want, is that when they finally do have a job that they need help with, you need to be top of mind for them, not someone else. So by having this 12-week outreach where it's not every week, are you ready yet? Are you ready yet? Are you ready yet? It's been this helpful dialogue. You've been developing the relationship, and you've been doing it in a number of different ways that really highlight your expertise with how you can help them. So I love this outline. It's so easy. You could literally print this off, stick it on your desk, and be like, oh, it's Tuesday, August 15th. So I need to, send my week 3 email over to, the 5 prospects that I've identified. So I think this is super helpful. And again, hopefully it helps people get away from thinking, there's only 1 or 2 ways that you can solve for this business development challenge.
Yep, definitely. And you can always dive a little bit deeper and say, you know what, for week 11, I don't necessarily want to provide an update like ChatGPT is suggesting. I want to offer something different. I want to give them a free consultation, and I want to share a recent success story. I want to pitch them a specific person. So in this case, you can insert NPC. You can always switch things up a little bit. This is just to give you a starting point, but ultimately your experience, your expertise, your human touch and white glove service is eventually the reason why things get across the finish line. And the point of this is just to help you essentially create a business plan for business development, because it does require a strategy. You can't just send 1 or 2 emails to hiring managers. You can, but that's not really a plan. That's not something that you can measure. That's not something that you can then look at and say, okay, we need to improve with this. We need to actually have a game plan. And this is what some of the best recruiting firms do. They have a game plan, they have a process, they have KPIs so that they can figure out, okay, where in the process are we getting hung up? Where is the disconnect where things are moving along and then they seem to fall apart? And you see this in your metrics with recruiting where you see, okay, I have a lot of interviews, but for some reason, nothing is happening after the interview. So this is where you can pinpoint what's the issue here. And you can specifically figure out, how can I solve this problem so that moving forward, I get a 2nd round interview, I get a 3rd round interview, and eventually get an offer and a placement. And when you don't have a process where you can kind of gather data over time and have a game plan and consistency, it's not going to happen. And with business development, they may not have a need right now, but if you stay at the top of their inbox and check in sometimes with some helpful tidbits that are actually beneficial to them, then they're going to remember you and they're going to reach out to you. And that is exactly what we want. We want to be at the top of their mind, like you said, Sam, so that when they do have a need, they're like, wait a minute, this person sent me something about a free consultation. Let me type this into the search bar in like the inbox, and they have thousands of email. They have to be able to find you one way or another. And that an easy way to do that is to stand out by being different, by being memorable. You don't know what's actually going to like hit that spot where they're going to be like, you know what? I'm going to remember this person. And then even after this campaign ends, let's say 3 months down the line after the campaign ends, they're like, you know what? I had this person. Let me look this up. And then they can reach out to you. And the point is that they remember you.
That's the name of the game. You're speaking my marketing language right now. I absolutely love it. Let me know if you want to switch over to the dark side. Yeah, this is great. And maybe next week we get into, this has been all the identification, the outreach. We can start to get into, what do proposals look like? How do we start to close from these efforts? And is there anything different that we should be thinking about? So stay tuned for that. We might be coming back with that. But as you saw up above, they are touched on in this outline. And that's the great part, is that we can take this, we can tweak it, and then you can adapt it to your own use case. So this is incredibly helpful as always, Vivien. I learn something new every time that you come on to join. So thank you for coming on the show yet again. Always appreciate the knowledge that you share. I hope that it's going to inspire recruiters to start incorporating this into their day-to-day. So everyone, that's it for today's Tactical Tuesday. Until next time.
Bye, everyone.